$1 trillion, that is the estimated amount of student loans college graduates are currently holding. That's about $29,000 per student on average, up more than 60% in just a decade, according to a new study. A recent survey of adults between 18 and 29 years old, the millennial generation, say colleges and universities are primarily to blame for the ballooning problem. So what should be done to combat it, and just how much risk is that to the federal government debt? That's what we're talking about this half hour. Log on to Facebook or Twitter and share your thoughts, and we might use them on the air. In our newsroom is Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico and news analyst Mustafa Tamiz. And we should mention Jackie Bally was feeling a little bit under the weather, so she got on out of here, and let's hope she starts feeling better. Did you guys do something to her?
Well, you know, Jackie goes out every night, and,
You goofball.
we have a strict no throwing up on the set policy here at Fox 26.
We're not making fun of Jackie while
we
she's not
enforced
here.
it. No.
You know what I think it is? All that talk of like shopping and shoes in the last segment, I'm seriously allergic to talking about it and not being able to shop, so maybe she has that same syndrome.
She's in line at Macy's right now. What happened? Listen, this student debt issue is something that I've paid a lot of attention to for a very long time, because it's really going to be the next crisis in the United States. You know, when I graduated from law school in 1988, I had a $35,000 student loan, and that's what I had to borrow to get through law school. I hired an associate 4 or 5 years ago from the same school who graduated with $110,000 student loan debt. I don't know how any kid recovers from that. Now, I'm a pretty good employer, but I can't pay someone enough money, Mustafa Tamiz, to service a $110,000 debt and pay for his family. It's a huge crisis. In Texas, we saw years ago Rick Perry push through the legislature the deregulation of colleges and universities, and that caused a 200% rise in college tuition over the next 12 months after that law was passed. A lot of people blame this on the federal government. I blame it on the states for not regulating colleges and universities in the way that they charge, and in the way that they pay colleges and universities from the state level.
Yeah, I mean, there are two things happen. One, they deregulated the tuition, but two, they also reduced funding to higher education. So on the one hand, colleges weren't getting the monies that the public universities weren't getting the state funding that they used to, and then you deregulate the tuition, so they're able to increase tuition and pass it on. And that's kind of what's happened. Although we try to reduce taxes, all of these other costs are rising, and we see that every day. So for average Americans, it's very difficult. You know,
I was reading an article about this. I want to quote this young man, Raven Tillman. He's a senior at Boston College. He said, "I think a lot of the blame can be placed on the fundamental shift from looking at education as an investment to looking at it as a privilege." And what he's suggesting is that only a privileged class of people now get to go to college. And isn't that part of the problem?
That's part of the problem, but that privileged class is getting smaller and smaller. You know, almost 70% of kids that graduate, that come out with an undergraduate degree, have almost a $30,000 loan. Average income, median income for a college graduate now is $30,000. So their debt, you know, just on average, is what they would make in their first year. So you never get past it. You almost have a mortgage.
That's what I was going to equate it to, a house note, and that's the problem.
And it has a lot of long-term effects, right? Things that people don't talk about. One thing is that less people go into business, because if you have this debt that you have to pay for, you're less likely to take risks, so you stay in your profession. And so the innovation of America is going away because of things.
Let me go to Dominique. She's monitoring our social media accounts.
Yeah, and you know, on my Facebook page, I've given one of my Facebook friends, Arnetta Murray Hicks, I've given her the title of my faithful Facebook poster. Thank you so much, Arnetta. She says she blames excessive interest rates and the government for making money off of struggling students. And, you know, so many people are saying the same thing. What can the government do?
Well, you know, I don't really blame the government for excessive rates, because student loan rates have always been pretty competitive. But what they did do was the federal government got out of the loan business and let the banks take over the student loans. And that we saw a huge increase in the number of people getting loans and the way that they were administering the program, and that really caused a big increase.
Yeah, and the banks were actively out there pushing these
Right.
loans too. I mean, we're not educating our kids in terms of how to select colleges and avoid debt. The other large issue that doesn't get talked about is how many kids have debt and didn't graduate. So you
Right.
went to school, you signed up, you did a year, you did 2 years, you got debt, you couldn't pay for that, you got a job and left college, and now you have this debt and without a degree. That is also an epidemic in America. Right now.
It's an epidemic, and it's a huge problem because Dominic, this never goes away. You can't file bankruptcy and wash out a student, federally secured student loan. And so years later, when you finally get back on your feet, the federal government's going to show up and they're going to start seizing your assets and taking that money from you.
They're going to hold their hand out.
That's right, and you can't wash it away in bankruptcy. And so anyone contemplating a student loan needs to be sure that they're in the right college, that they're going to be able to graduate, and that they're going to be able to use that degree to earn enough money to service that debt.
I absolutely agree. I remember when President Barack Obama was elected to the presidency, and that was when he paid off his student loans. So
Right.
it's like you have to become president to pay off your student loans?
Well, you know, it took me 15 years to pay off my student loan, and I was a practicing lawyer with what I consider to be a relatively small debt.
Yeah.
I can't imagine these young people like the associate I was talking about with a $110,000 student loan debt. It's going to take him his whole life.
It's a big issue. Thanks so much, you guys.
You bet.
Thank you.